Hey there folks, this is Diederik Cardon over at Cardon & Company from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. This is me. Today we're going to be talking about the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty, or the DAFT visa. The DAFT visa is a self-employed visa for American passport holders moving to Holland. It's 2 years validity. It does not allow you to work in regular employment or remotely for a US company. So options include contracting work, freelancing work, any type of business that generates revenues upon invoicing. DAFT visa is an exception to the main Dutch self-employed startup visa. It has much more lenient requirements and is therefore by far your easiest ticket in, so you should not be comparing it to any other type of visa for self-employment. You will become a tax subject in the Netherlands, so your tax situation in the United States will not continue as it was. So it's up to you to find a way to make the Dutch tax situation work into your advantage. And for this, you should look into the main two company forms, the BV plus 30% ruling and the ZZP. This will be the subject of another video. Requirements for the DAFT visa. First, you need to register a Dutch company. For this, you have 6 months after the initial application. Secondly, you need to deposit 4,500 euros into the bank account. Again, you have 6 months after application to arrange this for yourself. There are certain requirements that are not requirements for the visa. A business plan is not a requirement. Financial numbers or planning are not required. They are, of course, advisable to do, but they are not being asked for as part of the visa application process. You are not required to work in a certain type of relationship or certain type of business, or to work in a US-Netherlands cross-border relationship. It's not required. It was originally the idea behind the DAFT treaty, but it's not an actual requirement. Having multiple clients is not a DAFT visa requirement, but it's a ZZP company form requirement. The BV company form doesn't have this. So let's have a look at the requirements of the visa extension after 2 years. Then you need to have the 4,500 euros still in your bank account, and you must never have used it or dipped into it. This can be visible from your income statements by that time. You should be able to sustain yourself out of your business income. After 6 months, you should be earning at least 1,800 euros in monthly earnings. For the DAFT application, there's a number of documents required. For yourself and each joining family member, an apostilled original birth certificate. You need this for your municipality registration, so it's not strictly speaking a visa requirement. The apostille on the birth certificate is valid indefinitely. I will explain about apostilles a bit later. If you are a married couple, the original apostilled marriage certificate, we'll make sure this one has an apostille that's valid for 6 months by the time you register. If you're an unmarried couple, it's also possible. You don't have to be married, but just show that you're not married to someone else. So both carry a declaration of single or unmarried status, and of course make sure you register at the same address in the Netherlands. Again, make sure the apostille is at most 6 months old on the declaration of unmarried status. If you're born outside the United States, you must obtain a birth certificate from that country of birth and get a valid apostille from that country. A naturalization certificate is not a substitute unless you are in very extreme circumstances. For example, you were born in North Korea. That's just impossible to obtain it, and then you can explain this. In any other country, they will just ask you to work a little bit harder to obtain it. When you need your documents, so straight at the beginning, you need your passports. Only for your joining children, you need to have a PDF copy of the apostilled birth certificate, and any partner or spouses, a PDF copy of the marriage certificate, an unmarried status certificate, and of course also their birth certificate. Once you arrive in the Netherlands, you need to bring the original documents, so not the copies, but the original documents. For all applicants, the original paper version of the apostilled birth certificate. For joining partners, original paper version of the marriage certificate. But if you don't bring it, it's not at the end of the world. You have a 3-month respite period to obtain it, and you're going to be getting your BSN number straight away. 3 months after the DAFT is submitted, you need to actually provide the new Dutch company registration details, bank account, and the 4,500 euros deposit into it, and an opening balance by a Dutch accountant that proves that you deposited in it. So an American accountant or an accountant from another country is not accepted. It needs to be a Dutch registered accountant with a BCAN number. Short note on apostilles. It's a nice French word, and it just means that it's a stamp on any official document that makes it usable cross-border. It looks like here, it has recognizable features. It has the text Convention de la Haye, or the Hague Convention, on it. It's attached to it. It has a nice seal under it, and it will contain the big word apostille on it. There's a date on it, and this should not be longer than 6 months past once you register in the Netherlands. If you have original documents, that need to be apostilled, you can also visit an online notary service like apostilled.com. Not affiliated, but these guys work fast. Documents that require an apostille: birth certificate, marriage certificate, certificate of unmarried status. If you're bringing a child from a divorced ex-spouse, these divorce papers. If it's from a predeceased ex-spouse, the death certificate. One notable example of a document that does not require an apostille is passport copies. You can just provide regular copies. Position of your family members. Anybody can join you who is part of your family, and that's a partner or unmarried partner. And underage children. Adult children can only join you under a separate Article 8 family reunification procedure. The children and spouse are surefire hits, but Article 8 procedure needs to be proven that the child is still financially dependent. So this has a slightly higher hurdle than being underage child under DAFT. The rights of the family members under DAFT: the partner, spouse, and children can lawfully reside in the Netherlands. The partner, spouse, and children can work in any type they choose, so regular and self-employment, from the final DAFT verdict onwards. So this is, you need to wait for the final DAFT verdict. This can take like 6 to 8 weeks after the initial submission. Children can attend the Dutch regular school from the final DAFT verdict onwards. And only the main applicant can work in their self-employed capacity straight after obtaining the initial IND sticker, which is like week 1 after you arrive. Family members with a non-EU passport, non-US and non-EU passport, have a slightly different route because normally all non-EU visa applicants need to acquire an MVV, which is a provisional residence permit for the duration of the visa application. Americans are exempt from this process, so this is why you generally don't hear about it. But if you have a spouse who is not from the tiny list of exemptions, then you will have to deal with this. The MVV procedure requires the family member to wait out the DAFT application outside the Netherlands, and then once the application is granted, they need to pick up the sticker and do their biometrics appointment at the Dutch embassy in their current country of residence. So in the United States, this would be Washington, D.C., and not at the IND in the Netherlands. And then afterwards, they can move to the Netherlands and basically join you here. Preferably ahead of arrival. You can also do it after you arrive, but it's best to do it in advance. 3 weeks later, you get a confirmation letter and an IND fee payment request. They both contain a V number. The V number is being used to schedule your IND meetings for biometrics and residence endorsement sticker. You can schedule biometrics and residence endorsement stickers at any time, but if you don't have a V number, it will not pertain to you, so it's useless. 4, pay the IND fee, which is mentioned here in the earlier under 2. 5, show up at the IND meetings. If planned correctly, you can do it within days after arrival, and you can do your biometrics and residence endorsement sticker meeting back to back within 15 minutes or 30 minutes. The sticker you get is basically for the main applicant to the grant of all the DAFT rights straight away. For the family member, they need to wait until the final verdict in order to work or go to school, as mentioned earlier. Next, schedule a meeting at your municipality, bring passport sticker and obtain your BSN number. This is your Dutch social security number, and this is what you need for getting a bank account, going to school, like any functioning vis-a-vis the government in the Netherlands. With the BSN number, you can register your business. If you go for the ZZP company form, the BV company form is separate, so this is for the ZZP company form. Then you could get the bank account up and running pertaining to the company, and then you deposit the 4,500 bucks in there. And then you hire a Dutch accountant to take care of the business and accounting requirements, and also to obtain an opening balance for the 4,500 euros deposit. And nowadays you will receive the final DAFT verdict somewhere after step 5, about 6 weeks after the initial submission. So this can change, but it has been stated that they will continue doing this until 2026. So it's a very easy ticket into the Netherlands. If you're a resident DAFT applicant switching from another visa, timelines are more strict. You need to immediately submit a full file, so you do not get the 6 months respite period to provide the company details and whatnot. This needs to be arranged immediately along with your initial DAFT application, and you must submit this at the end of your current visa. So this is something to take into consideration. Lastly, all the proofs you're going to be gathering, you need to keep them in your file. You don't need to provide it to the IND yet. They can come check up on it, but you don't need to provide it as part of the application process. So this is why it's expedited so much. That's it, folks. Next up is the renewal in 2 years' time. FAQs, there's a lot to be asked and of course a lot to be said about this. We have gathered all our mostly asked questions about this at cardon.no apply for DAFT visas. Scroll down to the FAQ section. There's a lot of these teeny tiny little questions that you might be asking and that we have all the answers for. And come back to us if you have any further questions. You can WhatsApp us or you can send us emails or you can schedule a follow-up meeting. Bye folks, speak to you soon.